Welcome to the Upright Guide. You could look us up on uprightguide.com. I'm doing a video here on something that'll help folks, usually middle-aged and older folks, with heart disease. A lot of people that we know have had heart problems, and they would go for surgery. They would use different kinds of techniques where they would go in through their veins, and with a little balloon they would open up their arteries, which is probably less intrusive than triple or quadruple bypass and all of these traumatic surgeries that require a person to recuperate from these surgeries, and they're risky. I mean, let's face it, I mean, some people don't survive the surgeries. I had a history of heart disease in my family. My father died of a heart attack at the age of 61. I'm 62, so obviously when I became close to 60, I started thinking about this because I want to live. And I started researching to see what other possible things can I do to try to improve my chances and have me to live a longer life without having to be subjected to the knife. It's kind of a scary thing to be dependent on someone else, or put your hands and put your life in the hands of some kind of an organization. Especially when you learn about the organization, which is the medical organization in this country and around the world. It's motivated by not making people better or healing, but it's motivated by profits. And there's a lot of alternative medicine. Lately, by the way, today is November 8th, 2015. I like for people to know when I make my videos. I don't want people to look at this video in the future, like maybe 10, 20 years from now or longer, and say, well, all that information is old hat. Good information is timeless. So you could, and hopefully what I'm presenting to you here is good information. Another option, something that you could do to try to make yourself healthy. Taking your health into your own hands requires you to do a little research. You can't just go to a pharmacy or a drugstore and take a pill to solve all your problems. You have to start taking interest, personal attention in your health. You have to be diligent. And you have to know that things are not always very simple. I mean, like, for example, what we're going to be talking about today is grapefruit. Grapefruit has got pectin in it. And pectin has been found, according to some of the research I've read on the internet, to have the ability to dissolve the plaque that's on the inside of your arteries. Bromelain from pineapples also does that. Sometimes when I make this, what we're going to be making here today, by the way, is sort of like an applesauce, except it's going to be made out of grapefruit. So I call it like a grapefruit sauce. When you're making this grapefruit sauce, you could put some pineapple into it because, like I said, pineapple has bromelain in it, and bromelain also has this effect of dissolving the plaque on the inside of your arteries. In the grapefruit, most of the pectin, from what I understand, is found in the white matter. It has a special name to it, but I forgot what it is. But this white matter that is immediately under the skin of the grapefruit, and also the dividing chambers, the consistency of that film-like substance that divides the different chambers of the grapefruit, and I guess, you know, that same stuff that's in all citrus fruit, is where the pectin is. So, yeah, you could cut open a grapefruit and spoon out the fruit part, and that's probably very good for you also, and maybe you'll be getting a little pectin. You're certainly going to be getting a lot of vitamin C, which is a side benefit. But in order for you to get the pectin, you got to eat the whole grapefruit. The only part that I don't like to eat is these little modules that are on the ends. I pick them off right away and throw them out. And I don't like to eat the skin, because even if the grapefruit is organic, and I only buy organic, by the way, it's hard to find organic grapefruit anymore. It's almost like a conspiracy. And on that note, I want to say, and I like to add some sideline information about politics and especially Christianity, because this is a Christian-based information guide. And also, let me go one more step backward. I want everybody to understand that when we call this show or this program the Upright Guide, I want everybody to understand that the guide that we're talking about is Jesus Christ. And without Jesus Christ, there is nothing. And I know that with Jesus Christ, all things are possible, but without him, I am nothing. So that being said, I want everybody to understand that the upright guide of all time is Jesus Christ. He is our hope. And through him, all things are possible. When you read the Bible and you learn about what the Bible really says, not what some churches teach, but what the Bible really says, and you think it through and you let it absorb and you meditate on it, you pray, God starts opening up things for you to see that previously you probably could not comprehend. It's a magic kind of a thing. You can only understand it only if you do it, you will understand it. And some of you will do it, and probably most of you won't. But that's the nature of the world. In the Bible, Jesus Christ said that the road that goes to me is narrow, but the road that goes away from me is very broad. So, while we're on that topic, I just wanted to say a couple other things in that regard. There is something that I found in my life that is very true, and that is, the larger the human organization, chances are the more corrupt it is. It is probably because human beings have a sinful nature. And when we start to become big and powerful and rich and beautiful and very educated, all of these things are different types of power. And when human beings have power, it is that rare human being that does not let it go to his head. This is the temptation. We all deal with it. We all fight against it. So when people look at big organizations like the American Medical Association or the Catholic Church or anything that's big and powerful, there's a lot of people that feel because it's big and it's powerful, or because this network anchorman or woman said this, it must be true because look how big and powerful they are. In reality, the opposite might be true, because maybe that's why Jesus Christ, or somewhere in the Bible, I can't quote the exact place, but I know it's in there, it said that you will get the truth will come from the mouths of babes. So in that spirit, I am encouraged and motivated by the love of Christ to be able to share this with you, hoping that it could give you good health, give you more years of life, not just more years of life to do nothing, but more years of life to do God's work and to do something good for somebody else. So, you take your grapefruits, and the first thing we do is we cut off a little edge off of each side. Now, this is just to get things started so that when you peel the rest of the skin off, you've got, you can do a circling motion all the way around, and it makes the job go faster. Now, when you're making this grapefruit, it's kind of a little involved, especially if you're putting the pineapple in there. And you know, by the way, I don't have a pineapple here to show you, but when you are making or putting pineapple in there, you have to know how to skin a pineapple. Usually I take the whole big pineapple and cut both ends off like I did with this. And then you go around the pineapple and you're taking the layers of the skins off all the way around. Then you cut the pineapple into quarters this way. And when you have your 4 slivers of pineapple, then you can take that inside edge off, because you don't want to be eating the inside edge or using it. Then once you have what's left, then you cut it up into small pieces and you can throw it into the blender together with the grapefruit, and it makes it taste a little better, and it gives you that additional benefit of the bromelain. So after you cut these tips off here, this white stuff in here, this is what we're after, okay? So we get rid of some of this stuff, but we're going to have enough of that to go around, so we don't have to worry about it. The next step, we're cutting these edges off on both sides, a little sliver like that to get us started. Then we take our peeler and we start peeling it around. It's just good for cleaning and then killing any kind of mold or fungus. After that, we wash it off. Sometimes we just throw them in the refrigerator in a plastic bag until we're ready to use them. And when we are ready to use them, cut off the ends, peel it all the way around, and then you cut the grapefruit in half. Then you cut it again into quarters, like that. And once you have your quarters, what I do to make this work out well for me is I take the grapefruit and I'll cut it again into thirds. So now you've got these 3 slivers here, and then you chop it into little cubicles, little cubes. Now when you have your cubes, then it goes into the blender. Okay, so we're continuing our chopping here, and while I'm chopping and skinning and preparing all of this stuff for the blender, we'll talk a little more about the nature of man and conspiracies. You know that very often when you start talking about conspiracies, everybody says, oh, well, there's another conspiracy nut. You can't follow the crowd. You can't let the peer group pressure of society dictate how you think. You have to be independent. You have to use your own mind and think what you know is right, not what people tell you is right. If you look through history and you look through what's going on in the world now and has for recorded history, you can't escape that conspiracy is the nature of man. It has always been with us, and it probably will until Jesus Christ is going to reign as our king again. Whenever you have 3 people and they're all involved in some kind of a endeavor, the chances are the 2 of them will get together to bump off the 3rd. It just works out that way. It doesn't always work out that way, but it's very common. And so those are the things that I want you to walk away from this remembering, besides the grapefruit that could help your heart and your arteries. By the way, I've been taking this stuff not every day recently. There's a story for that, and I'll tell you about it. A little bit, actually some information that you need to know right now before we start talking about other things. Grapefruit, this is not something you should be doing if you're taking some kind of medication, because there's a lot of medications that are not compatible with grapefruit, and you could actually do yourself a lot of harm, and you could even kill yourself if you are going to be doing things or taking medications that are not compatible with grapefruit. There's a medical reason for it. I mean, I read up on it. Basically, from what I understand, what happens is that the liver disables a lot of the medication you take, and the grapefruit inhibits the liver from disabling the medication. So you're taking a certain dosage of the medication, and then actually what's happening is because the grapefruit is inhibiting your liver, the more that medication is getting through, much more than you're supposed to have into your system, and you start overdosing on the medication, and that can become very dangerous. So if you're taking medication, don't do this unless you talk to your doctor, and then you have to make a decision whether to listen to him or dump your medication and just do this instead of the medication. But you know, whatever you decide to do, it's going to be your decision. I'm just telling you what I do and what works for me. People have to be responsible for themselves. I am not want to put myself in a position where somebody is taking their medication and then doing this also and then getting themselves into a medical problem. I, for one, personally have made the decision that I'm not taking any medications. I'm going to take the natural route, what I consider God's route. And I found that grapefruits are something that have helped me, because when I told you earlier that my father died at the age of 61, at the age of 60 I was already starting to get like funny feelings in my left arm, and I was getting pressure, and I wouldn't call it like chest pains, but I was getting like pressure in my chest. And I was worried because, you know, I want to live to see my grandchildren if I'm ever going to have any. So did this research, found out about this stuff, and then I made it, this grapefruit sauce. And I was probably consuming about a half a pint, somewhere around 8 ounces, I suppose, of this stuff daily. I mean, I might have missed a day here and there, but pretty much daily for a year and a half. And I got to tell you, all the chest pains, the pressure, you know, the feelings in my left arm, it's all history. I don't have those feelings anymore. As a matter of fact, it might be because there's so much vitamin C in here also, but now I'm more active, walking the dogs more often. Usually it was my wife that was walking the dogs by herself, but now usually I'm doing it or we're doing it together, and I feel myself more able, physically able to do a lot of more physical work and different things that you know, I had a hard time with in the past. But that's my personal story. So we talked about the medication, and if you do this, the other thing that there's an issue here with grapefruit that I don't know too much about. You're going to have to do your own research, and it has something to do with women. Apparently, women, for some reason, I have my theories, but I don't even want to mention them because, you know, they're just my own thoughts. They could have some kind of an adverse reaction with having too much grapefruit. But men, not so much, especially men that are not on medication. So if you're going to be taking this stuff with all this white pectin, and you're going to be consuming 8 ounces of this grapefruit sauce, and maybe with the bromelain, with the pineapple in there, like I did. And I didn't use the pineapple every time. I mean, you know, we didn't have the luxury of having pineapple every time, so I would make this stuff maybe 10 times. Out of those 10 times, maybe the pineapple would be in there 2 times, like 20% of the time. And I find myself not coughing as much in the morning. You know, like when I used to have phlegm build up in the morning, that's not so much of a problem anymore. And I think that liquid and phlegm building up in your lungs is probably a symbol of the heart not working as well as it should. But then again, I don't know for sure. That's just like a thought that I have. It seems like that's the way it is. I'm not sure. But the net effect is this has been positive for me. It's been a benefit for me. And it's a form of what is known as oral chelation. C-H-E-L-A-T-I-O-N, I believe. Now, there is also an intravenous chelation. From what I understand, intravenous chelation involves, I think it's E-D as in Donald, E-D-T as in Tom, A. Now, EDTA, the only contact I ever had with EDTA before is that EDTA was a preservative that they use in Hellmann's mayonnaise. So I always knew of it as a preservative. But apparently, in intravenous chelation, EDTA is used, and they've refined the process over the years, where you have to go to multiple sessions, and the sessions are very slow and they're limited because that's the only way it can be done without doing harm to the body. And this, from books I've read, has had a dramatic effect on people's health. It has helped people that have gangrene to get circulation back into their limbs. It has helped people with heart disease. And once the circulation in the body is good, then it helps in all different areas of health in your body, areas that you normally wouldn't think that would be connected to circulation. But I've never done that. Personally, if I had to do something critical to save my life, I would opt for the EDTA, intravenous chelation, before I would agree to have open heart bypass surgery. But that's me. EDTA for intravenous chelation is kind of like an emergency procedure. It works a lot faster. Of course, that's going to cost you. And you have to find the professionals. Obviously, I would have that only done by a professional. And there are organizations around America and Canada, at least there used to be when I read the book from most of the timing in the book was from 10, 15 years ago, but I would assume that that industry is still alive. I don't think it's been outlawed. But oral chelation is totally safe. I mean, as long as you're not taking medication. Totally cheap. All you're doing is paying for grapefruits and pineapples, which is food that you have to eat anyway. But this is a slow boat to China. This is something that takes years to help you, because from what I read, I think it's somewhere around 12 to 14% is the amount that the pectin and the bromelain will reduce the plaque in your arteries over the course of an entire year. Now, you know, 12 or 14% sounds like nothing, but that 12 or 14% could be the difference between life and death, depending on whether your heart's getting enough oxygen and nutrients for you not to have a heart attack. So really, this is serious business, and I think it's something that will help you one way or another. You know, I became a skeptic when it comes to establishment medicine already many years ago. When I was reached my teenage years, puberty, I found out, even before that, I found out that I had something that was called seborrhea dermatitis. Now, seborrhea dermatitis is a skin ailment, and it results in having like this itching and this even like this inflammation, and scabs start forming in your scalp. It's extremely unpleasant and extremely itchy. And I tried so many different things to get rid of it over the years. And when my wife and I met, I mean, I tried everything. Salt, alcohol, I mean, you name it. I was taking a medication for it, and the medication was working. The medication was called Valizone, and it was a cortisone-based stuff that you drop and you put it into your scalp after you take a shower. And it was working, keeping the itching away, keeping the inflammation from happening. It was expensive as hell, and there was no medical insurance back then when I was taking it. And I ran into this doctor from the Philippines, and she was telling me that the cortisone in the Valizone is going to, over a long period of time, is going to have a very detrimental effect on the adrenal part of your adrenal glands that are right above, I think, the kidneys. So here I am, spending a fortune for something that's going to kill me in the long run, so that I don't have an itchy scalp. Well, that didn't sit well with me, so I just intensified my search to try to find something that will help me. And my wife suggested vinegar. Now, I got to tell you, there's a few things that are really good that you should know about. First of all, I want to tell you about a guy that I found on the internet. His name is Tony Pantalaresco. He's from Canada. You should check out his YouTube sites. I mean, I don't agree, or you know, how should I put it? I agree with almost everything he says, but there are some areas where, you know, I'm a little, you know, not sure, you know, whether he's being cautious enough. And, you know, but all in all, I think that what he does is wonderful. And I want you also to keep your wits about you and don't believe anybody 100%. I mean, look at everything, but decide to do, you have to make the decision ultimately for yourself. Anyway, Tony, I think I pride myself as being a good judge of character. I can look at somebody, how they carry themselves, how they talk, and 99% of the time, I'm right, that this person is either a straight shooter, a decent person, and he's not, or she is not, a snake in the grass. And Tony's, from what I can tell, and everything that I know, he's a straight shooter, he's a good guy. And he just says that I'm just a guy that knows some things. So check out his YouTubes, you could learn a lot. And you'll find out when you look at his YouTubes that he'll tell you about different things that you should know about to keep yourself healthy. Some of those things are vinegar. Vinegar is very important and it's got a lot of benefits, externally and internally. Externally, vinegar helped me a lot with my seborrhea dermatitis. I started using it after I would take a shower and I wash my hair with the shampoo. Then, no, actually I did it before I washed my hair with the shampoo. I rub it into my scalp as I'm taking a shower, but while I'm washing myself all over, I've got the vinegar in my scalp and I'm in the shower and it's kind of doing its job. The acid the mild acid is eating away at those dead cells. And then towards the end of my shower, then I rinse all the vinegar out of my hair and then I put the shampoo on. I shampoo my hair, I wash it off, makes my hair soft. Just totally helped with the seborrhea dermatitis. After I would do a vinegar treatment, I would have no issues with the itching for at least 2 weeks, almost 3. It would be, in the summer it works longer because apparently when you're outside and you're in the sunlight helps to control the itching and the seborrhea dermatitis. But in the winter when you don't have so much sunlight, and you don't have vitamin D3, by the way, which is something that's another good thing to take. Most people in America are deficient in vitamin D. And because you're not getting the sunlight in the winter, you need to do the vinegar treatments in the scalp. Now this is only if you have seborrhea dermatitis. I don't know whether, you know, vinegar is a good thing to put in your scalp if you don't have an issue. This is only for those people that have that issue. So if you know somebody that's got seborrhea dermatitis, give them a tip. Another thing that Tony talks about in his websites, and he got me started on it. You know, I was already suspicious about this topic. We're talking about iodine. I remember I was looking around and I'm going, you know something? When I was a kid, iodine was all over the place. I remember when I cut myself playing right away, iodine. I remember how much it hurt when my mother put it on a cut. And then all of a sudden I'm realizing they've got all of this stuff, all of these fancy antibiotics that cost a lot of money and all of this, you know, but there's no iodine. I did a little research. It turns out that iodine is a salt. And iodine is absolutely necessary for you to have good health. So one of the things that Tony teaches on his videos is if you take Lugol's iodine, by the way, is a very accepted, very popular therapy, form of iodine. It comes in a bottle with a dropper. Take a few drops or a couple of drops of that iodine, put it on your forearm, rub it in there, and then wait, you know, as you're doing, you know, going through your day. If that iodine spot disappears on your skin within 4 hours, you are deficient in iodine. If it's there like 8 hours later, chances are you're okay. Now, having enough iodine in your system, it's not just good for protecting yourself from radioactivity. You need iodine in order to be healthy. So there's these certain things that I've noticed that really contribute to good health. And vinegar is one of them. Having enough iodine in your system is, you know, and you could use that test to see whether you don't have too much iodine. I actually was taking like a few drops of iodine in my coffee or with a drink every day. But you got to be careful. Don't overdose. Do your research. Go slow. be cautious. Don't do anything, you know, like there's some people that think, oh, that's good for you, let me take a ton of it. It'll even be better for me. No, it won't. It could kill you that way. So you have to be very careful, you know, about what you do and how you do it. Do your homework, do your research. So anyway, so we're talking about iodine and vinegar. There's a few things I wanted to talk to you about also that are good for good health. I mean, some of it's going to have to go for another video. I mean, there are so many different alternative medicine cancer cures out there. I just rattle off a few of them for you right now, but you could do, again, your own research or maybe watch a future video. Things like actually sodium bicarbonate and maple syrup with Dr. Simoncini in Italy, something you should really look into. Cancer is becoming an epidemic in America. And the thing that really gets me ticked off is that the medical establishment does not even tell the people the simplest, most basic things that they should know about cancer. And one of them is that cancer does not like a alkaline environment. Cancer likes to be in an acidic system. So if your system is acidic, the chances are that your body and your system is more conducive for cancer to grow in. But if your body is alkaline, then you're not providing a good environment for cancer to thrive in. So you would think that the medical establishment would tell everybody that your system should be alkaline and how to keep your system alkaline. Another thing is that, from what I understand, a lot of cancer tumors, I don't want to oversimplify cancer. There's a lot of things about cancer that's very complicated and they're way beyond me. But there's some things that everybody should know. And from what I understand, cancer is sort of like an anaerobic process. It's a tumor that grows pretty much without oxygen. So if you have a lot of oxygen coming to the tumor, that helps to kill it. Supposedly, that's the way the baking soda works. It piggybacks on the sugar molecules of maple syrup, which brings it to the cancer, and then the sodium bicarbonate releases oxygen to the tumor and makes it aerobic instead of anaerobic, and that contributes to killing the tumor. Now, I don't know for sure if all of these things are true, but again, this Dr. Simoncini, I watched him on the internet, and he just comes across to me as a square guy. So a lot of things I do, I go with my gut. My gut tells me that if I ever had cancer, I would not be doing chemotherapy. Me personally, I would be going the alternative medicine route. So you need to be curious. If you want to learn things, you can't just, like, for example, we talk about the news with a lot of people. There's some people that I go to the church that I go to. It's really my wife's church. But I go there, and I mean, people are nice people all over. But I mean, I got some issues with what they believe. But my attitude is that you have to have a Christian approach, and you got to kind of try to bring people in gradually with biblical truth instead of trying to be confrontational. But you know, a lot of people, they're not as open to some of the things I'm talking about. And I think that, again, if you have a good relationship with Jesus Christ, some of these things will become more obvious to you. You took these are, by the way, little grapefruits. You know, we couldn't find the bigger ones, and I like the pink ones even better. Apparently, the pink ones have more goodies in them than the yellow grapefruit on the inside. But these are the only organic ones that we could find, so my wife got them for me, so that's what we're using here today. But if you've got huge, big grapefruits, that's fine, and the ones that have got the more white stuff in it, that's better yet. And we're almost done here cutting all of this up, and we'll put it in the blender and make our grapefruit sauce momentarily. So check out Tony Pantalleresco. If you have somebody that's got cancer issues, check out Dr. Simoncini in Italy. Oh, by the way, you know, in gratitude for Dr. Simoncini's discoveries, and he's got testimonials of all kinds of people that he's cured from cancer, what does the Italian government do? It takes his license and bans him from the medical profession. So this whole establishment mess, remember? The bigger the human organization is, the more corrupt it is. This establishment's got a worldwide grip. I mean, this is not a situation where we're just messed up here in the United States. We've got this grip all around the world, and it's a God help us if we ever have a one world government. That's all I can say. But I'm not a big advocate of that. So if you enjoy our videos, you could come to uprightguide.com. We have a website. On there is not that much information yet, but there is some contact information. My name is George Shevchuk. If you want to call me or discuss anything with me, I'm a people person, so I'd love to have you contact me. We could talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you have information, you know, like I have some information, I'm sharing it with you, please share it with me. And also, if you know some good stuff, don't go to the grave with it. I mean, if you have a song inside of you, sing it before you die. I mean, make your own videos. Go on YouTube. You know, this is, we don't need one leader to be guiding everybody. We need everybody to be involved in helping each other out, like a bunch of Christian brothers and sisters. And be proactive. What did that one person say? I forgot who this famous person was that said this, but he said that in order for evil to be triumphant, all it requires is for good people to do nothing. So we all have to do something if we want to try to straighten this world out. And this world needs some straightening out. I don't know if I'm in camera frame, but I got to try to find myself some fruit juice here, because this thing is not going to work without some fruit juice. Or actually any kind of juice. I've got some little bit of lemonade left here. I got some juice here. Because you see, when you start that blender up, unless there's some moisture in here or something liquid in there, it's not going to catch. It's not going to start to swirl around. So you fill it up. I actually probably need a little more than that. Yeah, that may be enough. If you don't have enough juice, I mean, actually it doesn't have to be, that may be enough. If you don't, the less juice you have, the more thick it's going to be. Oh, by the way, once we make the sauce, we're putting it into these bottles here. And then we put it into these bottles, and these have all been pre-washed. They're bottles from other things, but we wash them up and we reuse them for whatever we need. And if you leave it in the refrigerator, I mean, you could eat it, you know, right away. But if you leave it in there for a while, the longer you leave it in there, that pectin, it starts to make it gel a little bit, and it starts to get hard. And I kind of like it. You know, I've grown over the years, over the last couple of years, to really enjoy eating this. I mean, for me, it's like a treat now. When I'm watching television and I want something to snack on, what better thing is there to snack on than something like this that is not bad for you, quite on the contrary, is good for you. So let's start with this and see how far we get with this and making the sauce, okay? Here we go. Put the lid on here, so I'm going to have this stuff floating around. All right, so we're continuing here. I got a little more juice to put in here so that it'll be a little easier to make this. Once I start the machine going, you're not going to be able to hear what I'm saying. So what I'm going to be doing is pouring the juice in, and then I'm going to be using a spoon, a wooden spoon, to kind of like move it around, because we want it to circulate, you know, and it's not going to circulate by itself because it's getting ground up on the bottom, but on the top it's not really getting ground up. So we're moving it around physically and causing that it all to get ground up, and then eventually it'll take a life of its own. So here we go. We stop it, take your spoon, move it around, try to get these big pieces to go down there deeper. All right, so we're going on and off, turning the blender on. Some blenders are better than others. I had a good blender, but it broke on me. So I'm using this older blender. So this one I have to stop, and I have to do a little bit of it manually. So here we go. Once I chop it up down there on the bottom, I open it up and I swish it around, try to get the bigger pieces to go down towards the bottom so that the blades could get at them. Put the lid on again. So we got to do this a few times. So each time you do it, you see that this thing is getting it's becoming more fluid-like. So the juices that I had on hand, because remember I had just a little iced tea I put in there, and some grape juice and some cherry juice. And but you know, a good one to use actually is if you can get pineapple juice. That would be perfect, because you've got, even if you don't have the pineapple, you put some pineapple juice in there, and that'll help you with the bromelain that way. See, it's already getting mushy. Here we go again. Now, once it gets to a certain point, you don't have to stop. What you can do is you could use your spoon inside there to help this, like it's almost like a convection that's taking place. It's not temperature related, but it's a motion, a swirling motion. And you could help it along with your spoon, and that'll get everything to get chopped up with an even consistency. So, we helped it along with the wooden spoon, and you might have saw before, you don't go too deep with the spoon, obviously, because when you get down here, you could hit those blades. So, you know, I've already got the hang of it, so I know how to do this without ever having the spoon touch the blades. And you get to this consistency. This is what you're looking for. It's almost like applesauce, but it's all grapefruit with the pectin in there. But this time we don't have the pineapple. The pineapple is something you could add yourself, or you could use pineapple juice. Now what we do is we carefully put this into the bottles, and if you don't have the inclination or the desire to make this yourself, we could make it for you. If you want, you could go to uprightguide.com and get the contact information. My name is George Shevchuk. Do a search on me. I live in New Jersey, and if I do make this for you, what I'll be doing is buying organic grapefruit. We'll be washing it in baking soda. We'll be taking the outside skin off. I used to make it with the outside skin, but I thought to myself, you know, there's probably still some pesticides or something in that outside skin, so I've been peeling it off, and we'll be chopping it up, making it up for you like this with pineapple for the bromelain or some pineapple juice. And I think that I need to get at least 10 bucks a bottle. So I mean, if you want to order this stuff and you order like a half a dozen bottles, 60 bucks plus shipping. But obviously if you do it yourself, it's going to cost you a lot less. Some people just are busy, they don't have the time, and they're professionals, but they want the benefit, and you might want to do it 2 or 3 times yourself, and then when you realize that you're too busy to do it, if you want us to do it, we'll do it for you. So you have that option. Another thing that we recently made in this household recently was a discovery that my son Constantine made. I got 3 kids, by the way: Alexander, Constantine, and my daughter's Oksana. And Constantine's very creative, and he likes to do a lot of different things. And my wife bought 2 like quart bottles of peanuts from CVS. It's a drugstore, and she usually buys them unsalted because she thinks that, you know, we shouldn't be eating too much butter, and we should be you know, not having too much salt. But Constantine likes salt, and he didn't like eating the peanuts without the salt. So he took the peanuts and he threw everything into a frying pan. He added a whole jar of honey in there, some brown sugar, and a whole bunch of sea salt, and he mixed it up, and then he put it in a tray, put it in the oven, and he cooked it, I think it's something like 225 degrees for a half an hour. And when it solidified, it kind of got a little hard, and he broke it up It was almost like a peanut brittle or Cracker Jacks or something. And he put it in the jar, and boy, we ate that up. It was delicious. It was like a gourmet dessert. So if you want to, I'll probably make a future video about that. But that's another thing you can do. That's not so much for health, by the way. Although I got to tell you, the peanuts have CoQ10 in them, which is also good for your heart. But I mean, it's not going to be good for your heart if you're like this, you know. So you got to make sure that you limit how many peanuts you eat, so you don't become like an elephant. But it was a great dessert, and dessert that would be very expensive if you were to buy it that way in the store. Oh, I got to tell you something else about buying things, you know, that are pre-made or whatever, processed foods. So there's a little rule that I live by, and that is that when you're buying something from the store and it's got the ingredients list in the back, if that ingredients list is longer than a ½ inch, I don't buy it. You want to keep things simple and basic, and when you're making things yourself at home, or if we make it for you, it's just going to have the basics in there. They always put in some crap that's going to hurt you somehow. I mean, it reminds me of this ongoing war that I'm having with my wife about 2% milk. She is very concerned about, you know, my weight and everybody having too much fat in their diets, and she likes for us to drink the 2% milk. So one of the things that I noticed right away about the milk is that the milk had something in it that was called vitamin A palmitate vitamin A. So I did some research on it, and it turns out that palmitate A is a synthetic vitamin A. And there's a lot of research that shows that the synthetic vitamin A is like nowhere near as good as real vitamin A. So this is just my suggestion. You need vitamin A, eat a carrot, you know. But if you want to limit the amount of fat that's in your whole milk, buy yourself a ½ gallon of whole milk and split it, mix it, you know, dilute it 50% with spring water, and now you've got your 2% milk without the palmitate A, and you just saved yourself a whole bunch of money on milk, and you're not getting any of the bad stuff in there. Whole milk is bad enough. I mean, again, we buy whole milk as organic if we can, but milk has been so bastardized between the homogenation and the pasteurization. You know, there's probably hardly anything good in there for you anyway. It's just that milk tastes so good. I mean, probably nothing's better than getting milk right from the cow, but that's a luxury that none of us that's not available to all of us. So we do the best we can. But my suggestion to you is do not use 2% milk. That's my own personal feeling. If you want to limit the amount of fat that you have in your milk, take the whole milk and cut it in half with the spring water. You have twice as much milk, and for half the price, and you're skipping out on the palmitate A. I don't like anything synthetic. As a matter of fact, anytime humanity gets involved and starts messing around with anything, be it genetically modified organisms or whatever the hell they're doing, they're usually causing more problems than anything else. When you look into it, you realize that God's way, the simple way, is almost always the better way. Anyway, this is just something that might help you. Put it in the refrigerator. Eat about a half of one of these every day. It's going to take time. This is a slow boat to China, I got to tell you. This is not going to be some overnight cure. You won't even feel any benefit from this until after maybe 3 or 4 months go by. If you're scared about heart disease, you'll do it. But if you're not that scared, and if you're not that interested or that dedicated to this, all I can tell you is that I would look into intravenous chelation with the EDTA before I would let myself go under the knife for a triple or a quadruple bypass. The medical establishment, the establishment in general, is very powerful, and it hates competition, and it doesn't give a damn about your good health. It's all a money-making racket. Everybody puts a disclaimer in front of these videos that basically everything in this video is a bunch of BS. We have to do that, otherwise they'll crucify us legally and in every way you can think of. So basically, listen to everybody, open the Bible, read the Bible. It'll help you to make the right decisions. as Tony Pantalleresco says in his videos, to your health. God bless, and thank you.